Hello, everybody. Look who's here.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, and welcome to the next Daddy vlog, which we haven't done in forever.
I know.
But
Did we do? Well, we had the Stranger Things one, but we've never
yeah, we did the
Daddy
Stranger
vlog.
Thing. You made a cameo in one of the Daddy
okay.
vlogs, a
Oh,
brief
cool.
cameo. But anyway, Colin is now here because we've been wanting to have him share some of his thoughts, musings, experiences, whatever have you, now that the baby is coming very soon, imminent.
Yeah.
It is, as of this recording, he technically is 37 weeks. Well, our surrogate is 37 weeks pregnant, which means that he is technically full term. And tomorrow he will actually be 38 weeks, and 40 weeks is considered when his due date will be. So 2 weeks' time is when he's due to come. We have a feeling he might be early, but we'll see.
Hope
We'll
just
see.
a little early.
Tiny early, maybe not too early, not late. I wouldn't want him to be late.
No.
But Colin, I thought that we would spend some time just hearing your thoughts, maybe answering some questions, because there's a couple questions from the viewers. I don't know what you wanted to start with or what.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd probably start with the viewers, because that'll just ping me into various things that would come up anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you have
So-
some question or something you did otherwise,
Yeah.
like in the blog or whatever.
So one of my viewers, I think it's pronounced Pixeltis Jess. Please excuse me if I pronounced your name incorrectly. Pixeltis Jess asked to Colin, when did you first know that you wanted children?
That's funny. Pixel Tis Jess?
I think so.
Okay. No, that's a very good question. And it has a specific answer, strangely. And when I was in middle school, and two separate occasions on middle school, one with my friend Davey, and the other with my friend Danny. And I guess I'll start with the Danny one. I guess it was somewhat ironic with Danny because we were really, really great friends in middle school, and then, sort of it stopped. But at that time, and randomly in the, after gym in the locker room, and I was thinking like 20 years from now, I'll be like a father, like all of my own kids, like what? And I think we talked about it or whatever. So that was
With Danny or Dave?
with Danny.
Okay.
But it wasn't much explicitly linked, like, oh, we were both going to, but I definitely remember it came up. Like, I still can see, the colors, these blue lockers, and it was around the same time we were running and, like, we're sort of trying to, like, jump on the top of them, which we weren't supposed to do, but it was a thing. But then the more, I don't know, the one that makes more sense and is something that may, within about 5 years with Davey, I guess, potentially, come to fruition. That is, he always said that, he would say, like, something like my life plan or something I really look forward to the future is, like, having our kids, like, go on vacation, like, at some cabin. Because he's, like, very, like, rustic and, like, Cabela'd out and everything. So, yeah, so I guess... I mean, at the time, it was clearly not with, a man at all, both in terms of my actual orientation and just my conception at all. I don't even think at the time, I mean, I knew gay people existed, but like in middle school, it just didn't come up at all. Like, really ironically, Rosie O'Donnell, I remember, like, was adopting a child or something, and that was my understanding. I guess Alan and Rosie O'Donnell were my understanding that gay people existed. And this, again, I was near in the side of my backyard. I vividly remember I was in the side of my backyard where we have, like, this, like, dog, this, like, chemical thing where you could put the dog poop in or whatever. I just remember I remember I was there, and I thought, oh, of course, you should be nice to those, like, gay people, whoever they are. But, like, I mean, them having kids, like, that's a little selfish, isn't it? Because, like, Rosie O'Donnell, she's all fine and everything, but, like, the kids, it would be so weird. You'd say, like, my two moms, like that would just be they get
So that's
get
what you
harassed.
thought?
Yeah.
Oh,
They'd
wow.
get harassed. Like it'd just be too selfish. Like it just wouldn't be right for the kids. That's what I thought. Like that was my, so
Wow.
times have changed. I'll just say
So
that.
how selfish are we now? Very selfish.
We are not selfish. We've spent 5 years and inordinate amount of money dealing with like all these crazy people who have stood in our way out of laziness and incompetence and all the wonderful people on the internet who have counteracted that and Hark's, YouTube channel. So I'm just saying, like, it's been great, but like, yeah, that's funny. We're lazy now.
Another question.
Or selfish, sorry.
Another question that was asked was, do we have a nickname for the baby? Before the baby was born. Do we have a nickname?
Hark must have posed this question.
No, it wasn't asked by me.
No, only because he makes fun. Because I've been saying, like, for the damn children or the child.
That is what your nickname for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just being, making like a joke of it or whatever, and just making it abstract and like that child and everything, but yeah, nothing other than that. But I was gonna say, this is probably the last time I'm assuming the viewers and you recording on your channel generally will have the child be he or child. You'll know the name presumably, hopefully, by the next time. So everyone in the internet and people will know the name. But yeah, I don't think we have another nickname, do we?
Well, your sister does.
She does.
Do you want me to explain it? Or
Yes, you can explain it by all means.
So Colin's sister, who has definitely been a huge part and huge support for us in this project. Well, this project, I don't want to call it that. This process is what I meant to say. So one of the things that happens in IVF is that when the embryo gets implanted into the uterus, you want that embryo to stick to the uterine wall. Because if it doesn't stick to the uterine wall, then it doesn't turn into a pregnancy, obviously. So his sister wanted to refer to the child as our spider baby because it's like Spider-Man, because Spider-Man sticks to the wall. So she was like, that spider baby's gonna stick to the uterine wall. And it did, and it's been sticking since then. And, so for the entire time, Katie has been referring to it as the spider baby. And so I thought it would be cute if somebody really asked me, like, what is the kid's name? My thought was to say, oh, his name is Parker, because Peter Parker. Yeah. Peter Parker is a secret identity of Spider-Man. So that has been my nickname for the kid, though I haven't really used it that often. But.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, first, unfairly, like it's a bit dumb on my part, but I sort of would blanch at it, like, just because, like, my sister, all credit to her, is all about babies, and like she's a labor and delivery nurse and everything, but she's just like, my spider baby, mama, like all the time, in a way that objectively is endearing, just to me unfairly. Sometimes like, oh, my spider baby, but I was able to like embrace and like at least the idea of it, because at the time it reminded me, or I thought of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is
great movie,
unbelievable, and not just as a movie, or not just like, really in every way, but I took it as a symbol for how many different things that the kid will bring, and the sort of diversity in all ways that I want to be able to expose a child to and have him be accepting of. And like part of what makes the movie so great is it just embraces everything, and like multiple characters and like modes of being and animation and styles and like the comic book styles, and like and so I just found the movie profoundly moving, and so that helped me more with the nickname.
So my question for you, Colin, is what are some of the things that you are looking forward to the most with our son.
Wait, is the second part of the question, what are some of the challenges or the things you're fearful of? Because if so, I want to answer that first.
You want to answer that first? Okay.
Yes. Was it one of the other questions, I'm assuming?
It's going to be, but I'll start with what are you most anxious about? What are you most anxious about with this baby?
Interesting. That he'll be bored with us and we'll be incompetent and lazy. No, that's not true at all. I guess in the short term, I'm worried about this fall of death. Autumn of death.
Okay.
Because everyone in the world, like, except for one person recently, Julie Beach, but they're all like, I mean, one of the Patrick Murphy at school jokingly said, that he's like, do we really mean this? Like, why did we do this? Like, he was saying it jokingly, but then he was saying, like, oh, when my son Jack saw his feet today, and he was like, what? And so he was mostly joking about it, but just the sheer number of people's testimony to the, misery that is the first month to like 3 months to varying degrees. That's, in general, that's something that's, intimidating and rough, but but for financial and professional reasons, I still need to maintain this Thursday after school teaching that I do, and to some degree, in a much more limited capacity, a Wednesday school at my own school thing that I'm doing, and so like that's always intense in general, and like having that still be there while the inevitable endless challenges and time sucks of the baby is intimidating and scary to me. So
okay.
Yeah, but I guess it's better to have concern about scheduling than your worth and ability as a father. So
yeah no, I agree with that. So what are you looking forward to the most about our son?
Oh man,
what are you looking forward to the most? Can't think of any.
No, incorrect. If I were lying, I'd be like, all the things that I'll discover and we'll discover together, and like it'll expand like our horizons, and I'll discover like pottery, and I don't really know pottery, but he'll become a pottery expert, and then I'll just make YouTube videos and novels based on pottery and this whole brand new world, and connect with the multiverse of Spider-Man, that I'll expand my horizons. Okay, so that's somewhat true, and that I do genuinely think that'll be a cool thing. But if I'm being honest,
right,
it's being able to, maybe a mix between the two, of being able to find things that I'm passionate about, or you find things that you're passionate about, and not like literally recreate the same in the same love of that in that exact way, because that's just doesn't really work. You can't create this facsimile of inspiration, but being able to, at least in this same basic area, find moments of not just commonality but enhancement. So for example, like with you, like, although you're not all about Bruce Springsteen or the West Wing or various things, the time we were spent, the series of months that we spent, like, prepping for the Charlotte Bruce Springsteen show, and one of the best things you ever said to me is, unprompted, when we were at the Bruce Springsteen show in Charlotte, and afterward you were like, that was the best of the concerts we've been to. And I mean, to be fair, it was. but hearing that, and but that's just saying like, oh, you're agreeing with it being good. But like other things that are new, like just new things, like in this otherwise not that great, in my opinion, episode of The West Wing, right after 9/11, which had problematic areas in it, but you finding this sort of classroom exercise that they had, where they were sort of talking to the other people about various issues, and you being like, oh yeah, it was like, I found that informative, I learned things, and I was like, really? And those aren't great examples, because I'm sure there'll be way more exciting, deep, new insights that we'd be able to share, but that's just, two that immediately come to mind, so yeah. Well, just in terms of the surrogacy process, I guess, especially if Kate is watching this, even if she's not, I've been immeasurably grateful to Kate, and like for all the things, and my sister Katie. I was sort of semi-joking about the spider baby thing, but like it's been amazing the support we've had through Kate and my sister Katie, but more generally, I think it's taught me that is like I semi-frequently refer to like the different groups of people and their reliability, and so it's been really good to have Kate and Katie and you and me to be able to navigate this process, because I was jokingly up in arms about how long and financially taxing and crazy it is, but I don't want to say there's no way that we would have been able to get through it if we had had a surrogate and it wasn't like Kate, or without Katie's support, but the number of times when we're just stunned by either people not responding to like 6 emails is literally their job. So my point is that I've been really grateful. I've been really grateful, but the larger point, learning, has been that I appreciate to a greater degree that finding people who are able to help you through the process of most anything is more important than the, whatever intricacies of the process itself. So that would be one thing that I've gained from the process.
If somebody was watching right now, Colin, and was thinking about either having a surrogate carry their child, or a surrogate themselves, someone who's considering being a surrogate, like, what would you say to them?
I would say it's real easy. You should just do it. Like, it's so easy. No, I mean, it is not easy, but no, 100%. That's why I was excited when I thought that was the question you're going to ask. Yes, you should. Yes, you should do it. And honestly, I feel like some people should founding their home. I never thought of this. They should make an agency. What I'm saying is that if there were people, and there are, like one of the lawyers that we dealt with, or a few of them actually, have been incredibly helpful and organized and driven. So I don't want to paint an unfair portrayal, but if you're not even going to be a surrogate or wouldn't want a surrogate, like if you're literally trying to create a business or have organizational skills or legal skills or healthcare management, any of those things in those arenas, I swear there is a good market for you. Because despite there being, some degree of people who are really good and well-trained or whatever, there's absolutely a market for surrogacy, and there is legal people within the legal realm of surrogacy that do not serve in efficient and reassuring ways, and so that is something that I think both from a financial and practical level someone would be able to fulfill if you want to go into that. So, but beyond a business perspective, I think I would absolutely, if recommending being a surrogate, it has to be something that you really want and you'd really be interested in. But when Kate has said numerous things that have been complimentary to us and have found such meaning in the process. So I don't want to speak for Kate, but I know that she's expressed many great things about the process and being with us and close with us, and I do think that would be, and it also just helps financially. I mean, she's been able to be more stable in numerous ways than she was before. She has a whole basement setup that we were joking and look should be for the 18th season of MTV Cribs. Like she did that because of this process, and so you're going into it purely for finances is never going to make sense. But if it's just, there really are benefits to being a surrogate, absolutely. And in terms of someone who's looking to go into the surrogacy process, like parents, I would say two things. One, strap in if you really want to do it, because I don't know if there are two people in the world who are more committed to the process in all ways. Like, I mean, I loved various aspects of it, but I taught 7.5 hours straight on Saturdays for a year, and like Hark has moved heaven and earth, and we have many flaws or whatever, but like drive and organization and competence are generally not them, and you put the two of this together and it's still unbelievably difficult, but it's certainly been worth it for us. And so if you want to do it, you can do it, and it is absolutely worth it. One last thing I'll say about that is I would not discount adoption. Now, for those that have been following us for a real long time, you may know that it's somewhat ironic that I would say that, because I was the person from the beginning who was more leaning towards surrogacy than adoption, because I was ironically more like geared towards like having a genetic link, and like I made my whole family tree online, and I love just seeing like family connections and things between people, and so I just think that adoption is definitely a worthy alternative too, but also don't get false ideas about adoption, because adoption, as we know from other friends, who fits almost all the characteristics that we're talking about us in terms of drive and organization and everything else, and like for her and her husband, they still don't have a child, and it's tragic. But that said, overall, and especially if you're straight, that sounds bad, but like it's a reality, adoption may be easier and almost definitely a bit more financially realistic. So like if you are like financially like lower middle class, or like you don't have someone who has a job that, if your total income is not over $100,000 like between the couple, then surrogacy is literally not, I mean, barely have, I was scraping everything to get to it, and loans, and like, so it's just, if you don't have over $100,000, you can't do surrogacy, you just can't. And if you barely can, it's a real struggle like we've had. So if adoption's might be more realistic, although still a lot of money and a lot of commitment and a lot of struggle, but I would just consider both. So that's what I'd say.
Adoption definitely also, as we found, has, just because it's relatively cheaper, it's still super challenging and still super difficult. So don't think that adoption is the easier way, because it's not. Because like Colin said, we know people who have had, there's different challenges with adoption as there are with surrogacy. Hopefully that didn't deter a lot of you people out there who want to become parents, but
yeah, and I don't know how many like Neil Patrick Harris ballers we have who just have like millionaire viewers of the channel, and if you are, great. If you have a significant financial security, surrogacy may actually be more simple, because I think a lot of the challenge that we were going through was because we were just scraping to make it on the bubble where we could even afford it. If you don't, this is something that is where, if you somehow are in like a really strong financial place, like $200,000 or more, something like that, then there are advantages to surrogacy. I mean, you do have a virtual guarantee of something happening eventually. In theory, maybe even in a shorter amount of time. And you're able to have, a genetic link, but also like, because you often, as we had in our case, a number of embryos to choose from. And so you just have a lot more control. If you're just like, oh, okay, 200, I can swing it. In terms of the money, you may have more control, and you wouldn't get as bogged down and stressed out about the like court stuff and all that. So I think for a lot of people who do it in general, they're just like, okay, yeah, whatever we need to do, we'll do. And I think it's stressful probably for, anyone who's doing it, but like, I think most of the couples who do this, because I don't think most of the people we were dealing with, either agency-wise or medical-wise, were as like nickel and diming stuff with the professionals as we were. And because sometimes they'd be like, what? Like, well, no, we'll just do it like this. Just trust the doctor, or just, do what the agency says. So if you have immense financial security, it might actually be easier for you. So that's just a thing.
One thing I also wanted to let people know, because the baby's almost here, is childcare.
Huh.
Tell us about childcare, Collins, for this specific child.
The ultimate most important thing. Sorry, I just want to point out that this is so unusual because I always want to balance and have you speak for the equal time. And always
they already know me.
I know. I just
they're tired of me talking.
All right.
I talk their ears off all the time. They want to hear you.
All right. Okay, so obviously the thing I want most is to have the child be happy, healthy, and all that. That's great. However, I'm not a math person, but I'm pragmatic in a lot of ways, and I'm all about odds and numbers, and so I'm as secure as I would be that the baby should be fine and we're on the normal pregnancy track. That I'm not particularly worried about. What I actually am worried about is we have potentially an amazing situation with our daycare and au pair, but if anyone ever watching this has dealt with the DMV or the Social Security Administration, or like has had their number called, an hour and 47 minutes after you first picked up the thing. Like, government agencies are not known for their, efficiency and useful feedback. So we are going to embark, and not any day other than like the day after October 3rd, we are going to send out and begin the process of applying for a visa for our au pair.
Who is?
The awesome part is, so I guess almost 2 decades ago now. Well, not quite.
2 decades?
What?
Well, no.
Well, 13 years. Now I'm showing.
13 years.
13 years. Okay, sorry. Is it, or is it it might be 14. Okay, whatever. A decade and something from ago, in the best summer that I ever had, in Oaxaca, Mexico, I lived for a summer. And that summer, I barely spoke Spanish at all. But I was thrown into that environment with this program, Amigos de las Americas, or Friends of the Americas. And I was thrown into this place, and I was supposed to, teach English, even though I barely spoke Spanish. And trial by fire, and a lot of, drive, and being surrounded by an amazing group of people and 2 amazing host families. I had the best summer of my life, and long story short, had incredible fulfillment and mutual cultural exchange. And so one of the people in those 2 host families was Danny, or Daniela Ibanez, one of the daughters of one of the host families. And I never thought until I guess this year that Danny would become, potentially a huge part of our future. But about number of years after, I went back to Oaxaca right before I started teaching and had another great experience. And then when we were coming up our honeymoon, I was like, maybe we can go to Oaxaca, but I don't know. And I tried calling and cold calling all these people that are like, what? ¿Qué onda? ¿Qué? And then they didn't understand. And so, but then I but at the last minute got through to one random person. And then that got me through back to everyone else. And I learned everyone was still there and we could go for a honeymoon. And were they sort of standoffish and cold when we went there for a honeymoon, Hark, or no? No, they were wonderful, and it was just, I love South Africa too, and we had a sort of dual honeymoon, but I loved it, and I couldn't ask for more. And at the time, these, host family who had little kids a bunch of them were not kids anymore, and they had their own kids. And the plan was hatched to, years after, go back to Oaxaca with our own kids, which is still the plan, but finances and everything else is gonna, not be immediate or anything. And I guess less than a year ago, I thought, wait, we're getting all this daycare concern and au pairs. What if someone in Oaxaca could have the same sort of experience that I had, being thrown into a totally foreign environment, barely speaking the language, and, help us with, our situation. And so in theory, Danny, after, a bunch of things in between, is now 100% on board to be au pair. And she was actually an au pair for her one of her brothers for like a year. And now one of her other brothers, who I know is just had a kid too. And so, knock on wood, in January, we could have this unbelievable experience where she'd be with us and she'd be learning English and she'd be teaching our baby Spanish, and then we would all go back together in the future to Oaxaca. However, there's a visa. And if you YouTube H-2V visas and you look at it, it's terrible. And it's basically like you spend hours and hours and hours filling out all these things, and then hopefully, right? And then you send it, and they're like, send it back. And then we're like, oh, okay, like, what should we do? And then they could easily be like, you didn't do something right, figure it out. And we're like, oh. And then we're like, all right, we send it back. And they're like, you did not send it back quickly enough. Try next year. And like, I'm exaggerating to a degree, but like, it's not that far away, and so I'm confident enough that we'll be able to do it, fine. And I actually genuinely do think that it should work out, but it's not a guarantee, and it's scary.
So we'll see.
Yeah,
because that'd be really cool. Because Colin has said that it's very important to him that we try to expose our kids to a lot of cultural diversity, and he specifically wanted to try to expose our kids to Spanish. So I think that'll be really cool.
But really, I just did it because Danny was going to make Filipino food, and I was thinking of Hark. No.
Oh, I would teach her to make Filipino.
No, that's it. Yeah. And she was all about it. And more cross-cultural exchanges. She's bringing back Filipino. I mean, I don't know if it'll be available, but like, potentially Filipino to Oaxaca.
I'm sure.
Oh, man,
yeah, that would be spice. I can teach her how to make empanadas.
Yeah.
Because they already have empanadas.
Yeah.
A lot of Filipino cuisine shares food with Mexico, and yeah. So, Spanish influence and all that. All right. Well, I think that's all we've got for right now. So, we're going to have a very big, event in 2 weeks, maybe. Yeah. What is the plan? Just so people know what the plan is.
The plan is... How can there be a plan? I mean, I guess there can be a plan, but... Like about, 5 days ago, I got a good wake-up call because I was in no way ready for it to be like a month before, and then there was indication, oh yeah, it's gonna be like the middle of the night, and I was like freaking out.
Kate texted us last week telling us that this was at night, late at night, and she said that she was feeling cramping and a lot of activity since 4 p.m. that afternoon, and so she was saying that night might be a good night for us to keep our phones by our bed because it might be time. And so, we were wondering, I of course didn't get much sleep that night because I was anticipating this phone call, the kid waiting for their prom date to call them and stuff. But I mean, obviously, it ended up just being more Braxton Hicks, but to me that means that this kid...
It's a linebacker for the Saints. No, that's
Braxton Hicks, which means basically fake contractions. That's preparing your body for the actual birth. And because the way that you can tell between Braxton Hicks and actual labor contractions is because they form a pattern. So they didn't form a pattern, but they were going for quite some time. So I think that means that this kid might be coming sooner rather than later. But hopefully he'll give us one more week, because assuming he doesn't come sooner, I was planning on flying to Wisconsin the week before the due date, and my company has been wonderful because they've been able to give me 12 weeks of paid leave, paid paternity leave, which is very generous, plus vacation time. So fortunately, I should be able to be with the kid until 2020, which is amazing, and be paid, which is fantastic. And I can also work from home, or from her house rather. And then Colin will be flying. When are you planning on flying? The Saturday before?
Well, assuming it's fine, yeah, like 3 days before. But
right.
my the thing I am planning on, again, I would just wish it happened later rather than sooner, is like whenever I get the call or the text, immediately go to Reagan Airport and book a flight, which is not going to be more than $500, which that's a lot, but like it's not that much different from $300, so I'm fine booking a flight.
Yeah, and then we're just gonna hope and pray that we're both present, because that would be nice. So that's the plan, and then we'll stay for about a week or less, as long as the pediatrician gives us the okay to fly, and we'll fly back, and hopefully you guys will be able to meet him very shortly after. So.
And I was gonna say, this is not directly, but I'm glad, and you know, not that I don't know how many people would see this, but one thing that I've just been impressed by over the, I don't know, especially the past year or so, the people who I've literally met like through the channel, who've come to visit us and whatever, have all been great. And like AJ and Brandon and Skylar and various people who and so, you know, like finding out that. And one of the things I was struck by Brandon was like, when he was like, I was a little not sure of meeting you because, you know, kind of like the celebrity or whatever. But the reason I say that, and being serious though, it was kind of endearing as someone who was like, really, in my day-to-day life, like, but I do think that is somewhat of a like, it you know, like the people who like. I know that there are people. I know there's certainly people who've never dealt with surrogacy or know anything about it, and by seeing the things in this channel, that might like give them insight into that issue. Mm-hmm. And so, but people who like all those people I just mentioned, who have, you know, I've met personally, have like. Brandon, I never knew insights into like the movie, like being in a movie theater aspect that I just didn't know before. And through AJ, I didn't like his whole family story and his like, you know, counselor element, like his profession, and like the Montreal music scene, and like all of these interesting things that I was able to gain from them. And so. And maybe it seems silly to like that, you know, celebrity or something like that, but like being able, however you're able to get insights from people, number one, is important, is useful to be able to gain insights from anyone. But if those insights are in any way enhanced by a unfair idea of not just fame, but like seeing someone in something that is not direct one-on-one interaction, that might give it an unfair degree of authority, but it maybe that works. Like there are people who, there's a guy on a Build YouTube series of movie interviews who I just find profoundly interesting and a great interviewer, and things that he says. And that has greater power for me. And that's probably not fair because he's just a person, I'm just a person, Hark's just a person or whatever. But like, I just, having that sort of strange, like separation or separation of I don't want to say celebrity or fame, but just that separation where you're not directly interacting with the person gives someone like the ability to have their opinion make more of an impact. Like, great. So hopefully someone who's watching this video is able to gain something that you know, they wouldn't have otherwise got, and because of this false you know, thing that we're, you know, being watched, and we're you know, not celebrities or whatever, but if that gives what we're saying, you know, greater impact, then cool. So yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video and the rest of the videos, our vlog. I'm sure we'll be adding more videos for the daddy vlog when we are officially holding said child and being knee deep in everything related to daddy stuff, like diapers and more diapers and more diapers. But anyway, thank you guys so much, and thank you, Colin, for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for arranging this all.
Yeah, and until next time, everybody, love yourselves and love each other.